everybody. My name's Carrie. Thank you so much for being here. Today is October 4th, 2022. I don't know where September went. I thought I recorded just like a couple weeks ago, and I started to make some notes on what I wanted to talk about today and realized that the last time I recorded was like a month ago. September just flew by, and I don't know necessarily where it went, but there you go. We are not quite feeling like fall here yet. Today is cloudy, which is nice, but it's been around 80 still very dry and summer-like, which is unfortunate, but you know, what are you gonna do? I am just about a week away from leaving for Rhinebeck, which I'm so excited. So of course I've been having all kinds of cast-on-itis in preparation, and I'm also trying to figure out what I'm going to work on while I'm there and all that kind of stuff. So just going to talk about some of the things I have done and what I'm planning to do. I always forget to say that I'm on Instagram. I do have a Ravelry group, but I'm never on Ravelry. So if you need to get a hold of me, Instagram or email is probably the best. My Instagram is private because I get lots of unreal people, I don't know who they are, trying to be friends with me. And yeah, so I keep it private so that I don't just have some random bots following me, blah, blah, blah. So if you try and follow me, I will look to see if you look like you are a crafter of some sort. And if I can't see your profile, a lot of times I may not confirm your request. So there you go. Anyway, so we were supposed to go camping. We canceled our camping trip because of the fires that are happening in Central Oregon. It was in the area we were going to go camping, and we didn't want to sit in the smoke. A lot of the areas we wanted to go and hike and drive and see and all that were closed off because of the fire, so we decided to just stay home. So we did take a day trip up to Mount Hood, and we went along the Salmon River, which I've done before, and I've talked about it on here before. But it is a river you're on Mount Hood, but you're not like on the mountain, you're like down here still. And it's a pretty easy hike. It's very family friendly, and we did about 4 miles round trip, and it follows along the Salmon River. And at this time of year, if you hit it right, you can see the salmon spawning. And we hit it perfectly. It was the perfect day. So the weather was perfect. It was like not quite 70, but close to it. There were tons of fish. The fish this year were huge. They were like, the smallest ones were about 2 feet long and average about 3 feet long, and like big, and the water's super clear. I posted a video, kind of a compilation of some different videos I took, because we just sat there and we were like, we're watching fish TV, because you could just sit there and watch them, and you're just watching them swim, and then they're like battling each other for the gravel spot because that's where they want to lay eggs, or if they have laid eggs, they're defending them, and it's just really fun. And so we just had a fabulous day. So at least we got to get out and be out in the woods and do some hiking, even though we didn't get to go camping. And so I hopefully have put maybe some video at the beginning of this to show you what we did, because it was pretty cool. I have finished a couple things. I'm going to talk about some cast-on fails that I've had because, just because. So I'm going to start with some things that I finished. I had talked last time I recorded that I was going to try and make a drawstring backpack with knitted fabric. And I did make it. So this is what I did. So I knit this with, it was some old Red Heart sock yarn that I don't think they make anymore. If they do, this is called Watercolor Stripe, ancient yarn. It comes in 50-gram balls, and so I just figured and I did this on my knitting machine, and when I first got my knitting machine, I did a lot of swatches with the settings differently, which would change your gauge, and I kept them and labeled them. So I just looked back on my swatch, went, yeah, I like that kind of fabric. What settings was it? How many, I want it to be so big because I was trying to duplicate a drawstring bag that I already have. That's like a purchased one. And so I wanted to just do the same size. So I figured how many stitches I needed to cast on, and I just knit till the yarn was done, until I used up all the yarn. And then I added fabric to the bottom because I needed to do some grommets, and I didn't want to try and do it through the knitted fabric. Plus I thought if I sit this down, I don't really want it to be sat down on the knitted fabric, blah, blah, blah. So what I did, knit this rectangle. I did block it, washed it and blocked it so that it would lay pretty flat. I did fusible interfacing on the back side of it to stabilize it and keep it from being super stretchy. And then because it was such a big piece, I didn't want that fusible to eventually come apart. So I did stitching on either side of these bigger purple stripes, and I just stitched across. You can't really see it, but it was just something to make it stick to the fusible longer. This fabric is actually a microfiber sheet that I got at the thrift store because I wanted to just have some fabric. I was going to try and make a garment, which I didn't end up doing because I think it just made me look frumpy, but I didn't want to, I just thought I just need scrap fabric. And so I found this sheet, which just happened to be the perfect color for this. And I thought, well, if I do fabric here, which is a little thinner, when I scrunch it, it'll scrunch easier. So that was the thought process behind that. I also wanted to have a slippery fabric on the back so that if I'm wearing a sweater or say a flannel shirt or something that might have a little more grip, I didn't want this to pill anything with it wearing on my back. So I got some like lining fabric, I don't know, slippery fabric, which is a pain in the ass to work with. I did have to stabilize it with fusible. I tried to not, but I couldn't get it to cut straight because with slippery fabric, it doesn't just stay where you want it, and you can cut and you think you got a straight line, and I'm using my ruler or my rotary cutter, and then you're done and you're like, well, it's all like this because the fabric just won't stay straight. So I ended up fusing, interfacing onto this fabric as well. It's got the that sheet fabric as the lining, which doesn't have any fusible. And I just basically followed the other backpack. I found some nylon cording at Walmart and did some grommets, which are super easy to do. You know, you have to have the little poundy thing, and did that, tied a knot so it holds it, and I've got my little shopping bag. And this is fabric that was left over from the dog quilts that I made for Jim's sisters, and I felt like it kind of looked like little yarn balls, so that's why it went on the bottom. So I'm happy with the way it turned out, and I'm planning on bringing this to Rhinebeck so that I can put some purchases in there. I don't know how much purchasing. I know I'm going to want to purchase a ton of stuff, but I have a budget and I don't really need a crap ton of yarn. So I'm probably going to do more like Notion, famous last words. I'm going to try to do just like notions and smaller things. And, but you know, I'm a sucker for all the pretty things and kits and like, look, they've already got it all together. Let me just get that. So my notions and things can go in here. But anyway, so I'm really happy with how that turned out. And, you know, sometimes you have an idea and it doesn't work, and sometimes it does. So that's always good when it does, right? Another thing I finished is I made a yarn cozy out of yarn. It's got some yarn in it, but I knitted a little yarn cozy. This was leftover sock yarn, that I had from some socks. I don't remember what the maker, you know, the dyer was. The pattern is Fingering Yarn Cozy by Melina Brell. I'll put a picture here. I'll put a link in the description for anything that I'm talking about. This was really fun. It was a really nice, easy project. I will make I will make another one, but I'm going to make it a little bit taller. It's very stretchy because you're doing it as a rib. I think it's a 3x1 rib, if I remember correctly. That's what it looks like. And so it can handle, you know, a bigger ball, but I think it just needs to be a little bit taller. So, because this isn't a full skein. And so when it's a full skein, it's going to be wider, which will take up some of the height. But very easy and a great way to use up some leftover sock yarn. And it's fun when it's self-striping. This is my hand spun because I'm still working on the hand spun socks that I started how long ago? Like many, many months ago. I did pick them up again, and I finished turning the heel, and I'm now on the foot. So I'm in the home stretch. And then I was thinking that maybe I may give them to my mom. They're super soft, and it's my first hand spun yarn that I've knit into socks, but I think they may be a little bit tight because I spun the yarn pretty thin. So some of the areas, even though it's a 3-ply, are still like light fingering to almost lace. And so some of it is kind of thin. And my mom's got a little bit smaller feet. Her birthday's coming up this weekend, and Mom and I are going to go to Sisters for the weekend. I'm taking her to Sisters. They have a harvest fair, which is like handcrafted items and stuff. And Sisters is in Central Oregon. It's also known for the largest outdoor quilt show every year. And but it's just a cute little town, and they we went to this like marketplace kind of thing many years ago, and it was just really fun. You know, it's like, it starts to feel fall, and you got handcrafted things, and it's just a weekend away. So I thought, well, could I finish this by Friday? Today's Tuesday, maybe, and then just give her a pair of socks for her birthday because I don't have anything else to give her. Not that she needs anything. I'll have to see. She's pretty arthritic, and it's hard for her to pull on socks, so I'll have to see how easy that is. But I did work on them, and I got the heel turned. So we shall see. But the Yarn Cozy's cool. You should check out that pattern. All right. So that's that. As far as my works in progress, which I haven't picked up my Heat to Few day because it was just like I needed concentration. Okay, so I had an afternoon where I'm like, okay, nobody's here. I've got time. Violet's taken care of. Like, I can just concentrate on what I'm doing, make sure I have the right stitch count, blah, blah, blah. I started to go back and work on it. But I decided also to kind of like do a trial run of what I'm going to pack for Rhinebeck. Just kind of like, what's going to fit in this suitcase? Can I use this suitcase? Do I need a bigger one? Am I taking enough? You know, if I wear this sweater, what shirt am I going to wear with it? You know, that whole thing. I need to kind of process that. So in doing so, I started going through my knitwear. And there were things in there that I have knit and had and enjoyed knitting them, but never have ever worn it. Won't probably ever wear it. So I did give my Paris de Jours shawl to my friend Rhonda, and it looked adorable on her because everything looks adorable on her. And so that was great because she loved it. And so that was good. I pulled out it was kind of a shruggy sweater sort of thing that I made called Go With The Flow by Marie Green. And it was like a one-color brioche kind of thing. Loved working on it. Loved the yarn. And I'm like, I have never worn this. I won't ever wear it because it just doesn't look good on me. It doesn't feel good to wear it. And so I'm just going to rip it out. So I sat and I ripped it all out. And I'm like, okay. So here I've got like 2 weeks before I go to Rhinebeck. I could technically, if I really put my mind to it, make like a vest or something because I'm on this vest quest. Oh, that's cool. We should do a vest quest, Cal. Maybe after Rhinebeck. We'll think about it. So anyway, put a pin on that. We'll circle back. And so I got all the yarn balled up. I put it in a skein, washed it so it relaxed the wrinkles, you know, so it wasn't like a top ramen. And then I'm like, okay, I'm obsessed. I have to find a pattern. So my adorable friend Rhonda had knit the cane vest. And this is it here. And it's like, okay, perfect. It's real simple. You're doing a gartered rib. And I thought, okay, I can do that, you know. And I calculated by weighing all my yarn. Like, I think I've got about I have to reweigh it now because I didn't write it down. And, you know, memory. I think I've got about 1,100 yards of DK weight yarn. I'm like, it should just do it, right? And so the yarn is this yarn that I dyed way back when. And I think this was called Fire in the Sky. And it's just got lots of different colors and it's beautiful and I love it. And so I started knitting it. Then what happened? I can't remember what happened. I had a couple false starts with it. So I started it and it was like, no, wait a minute. This isn't the front side. This is the back side. And somehow I got the front side and the back side switched. And I was like, okay, wait, start over again. So I started over again. Cast it all on again. I cast that thing on like 3 times. Then I was on a roll. I'm like, this is good. I'm going for it. And it wasn't working for some reason. A good enough reason why, to the point that I ripped it out. I'm like, all right, I'm on a search again. Maybe I thought I didn't have enough yarn. I don't know. Whatever. I think I was just not enjoying, I wasn't enjoying doing the garter rib. I wasn't enjoying that process, and it was like, this is going to take me forever, and I was really thinking like, Rhinebeck, I got to get this done in 2 weeks. I ripped it out. Went on a search again for another vest that I could do with the amount of yardage I had and DK weight. So I came up with the Visit Vienna Vest by Drops. It's a free pattern. And I thought, okay, I've never done anything with drops. And I see that come up when I do searches on Instagram, or not Instagram. Oh my God. When I do searches on Ravelry. And I thought, let me give it a try. So it says it's knit in the round. You know, it's like, it's basically just stockinette. I'm like, okay, cool. So did that. And I got this far. So this is how this knits up. And I'm thinking, okay, at some point I'm going to join this in the round. And I'm like, you know, I'm not that big. Like, is this my neck hole? Like, what is this? So let me read it. And the pattern's written really weird. Like it says to cast on, say, 149 stitches. And then in parentheses. And don't forget, you need 2 extra stitches for each end. It's like, well, then say cast on 151 stitches. Don't do like, oh, don't forget this. Like, no, just tell me what I need to do. So I was a little frustrated. And I thought, is the 149 including the extra stitches? Am I supposed to include? So I thought, I can always knit 2 together. So let me, do extra. So I'm knitting along and it's like, okay, this is good. It was feeling a little tight. So I did actually bump up a needle size and I'm like, okay, that's fine. And I'm like, this doesn't have, it says knit for like 10 inches. And I'm thinking, what the heck? Like, when do I join it? No, you knit this in pieces, which means I'm knitting a row and purling a row. And it's not knit in the round, and it's bottom up, which I don't like. And I'm like, well, curse words. Lots and lots of curse words. So I'm like, that's not happening. So now I've wasted like 5 days between these 2 vests trying to come up with something. I'm like, okay, Carrie, it's not happening. You don't need a vest. You've got other knitwear you're bringing. Put it aside because I really do like the way it knits up. I really do like the colorway. Take your time. I still think it's got to be a vest because I don't have enough for sleeves. I thought of pulling a blue, just a navy blue DK that I have in my stash. And then I remembered that was for the Stephen West poncho that I haven't worked on in a long time. And so I probably should save it for that or decide what I'm going to do with that poncho. So can't really use that yarn. And I'm like, I'm trying to force it. Stop obsessing over that yarn. That yarn has been in a tub, knit up as something else for years. So let it go. So I let it go. Started working on my socks because I was feeling a little sorry for myself, which is fine. I need to get my socks done. So I had spent a lot of time doing stuff that's gotten ripped out because I was getting bored working on my dotted rays, which is weird because I don't usually get bored knitting, but I just wanted something different. I just needed something else to make me feel good and to give me those endorphins that I get when I start a new project. So it was a fail, but I did work on my dotted rays. So let's show you that because it's beautiful and it's fun colors and I'm in the middle of a row because it's garter and I can just do that. So I'm going to try and do this without dropping anything. So right where this little marker is where I was the last time I showed you. I have started using the second color. This is yarn that doesn't have a name, that was dyed by my friend Erin of the Fiber Hustle. And okay, there we go. And so I've added in that second color, which is just so pretty. And, you know, I don't have much left. It's getting pretty small. So the third color, because I'm making the large, will be this dark violet color, which I don't imagine I use a ton, but I don't know, because I don't read ahead on patterns. I just know I need a third skein. So that will go at the end of this if need be. And I'm just going back and forth. You can see the stripe a little bit better in this darker color. So I am on the eyelet rows using this from, was dyed by Needles at the Ready, and Kevin dyed this, I'm sure with me in mind. And I'm using it as the eyelet stripe. You can't really see it in the lighter color as much, but it's showing up more in here. And I imagine when I go to that darker color, it's going to show up even more. So this is just, you know, it takes a while now because the rows are getting longer, which is probably why I stopped in the middle of the road, because I was just getting tired. And I'm like, I can't make it to the end. I'm exhausted. So anyway, this will be lovely when it's done. Not going to plan on wearing it at Rhinebeck. I'm not going to plan on having it finished for Rhinebeck. But it is my knit night knit because it's just garter and I don't really have to think a whole lot. You just got to count when you get to the turnaround. So there you go. I will move my progress keeper for the next time. So that's done. I'm wondering, my neighbors are probably like, who the hell is she talking to? So then it was like, I need to come up with something to knit while I'm traveling. I've got to fly from the West Coast to the East Coast. That's like a 5-hour flight. Then I have a layover and then another flight, and some good knitting time. So I thought, okay, Hohi came out with a new pattern, and it's called the Lone Skein Shawl. Takes one skein, and I'm like, perfect. Just bring one skein, and I'll just knit on that. So it's a beautiful shawl. I think I would wear it because it's not like huge. This dotted rays is going to be more for like in the house when I just need something on. So I have this yarn from Huckleberry Knits. It's a gradient. I bought this at a fiber festival in Oregon here 5-ish years ago, and it's like my precious. So it needs to be something really pretty, and I think that shawl will be really good because it will use all of it. So I want to be able to use all of it. And I'm like, perfect. Got that. Let me get my needles, la la la. And then I thought, you know what? I'm going to have to sit and follow a pattern. I'm going to have to keep track and stuff like that. And I know once I'm at the house and any knitting time that we may have is going to be visiting and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I don't do so well when I get distracted from, like, if I've got to count or I've got to do some funky stitch and it's got kind of a twisted pearl something in there, which may not be that big of a deal, but I was looking at it and I thought, you know, I don't know that I'm gonna be able to focus enough. And maybe that's good for the plane. I still haven't given up on it. Maybe that's what I do on the plane, and then I have a different project. Maybe that's what I'll do for just sitting and knitting. So then it was like, okay, well, I need to find another project. So I've done a lot of just like looking for patterns. So what I've decided to do, I was like, do I maybe cast on some socks? I'm like, you know, I could, but I don't know that I want to. And so let me get it out of this bag. Okay, so this the bag I think I'm going to take, and it's a bag my friend Allison made. She's for Knit Sake. She doesn't do a podcast anymore, but she used to, and she made this and sent this to me, and I thought, perfect, because if I'm sitting somewhere that doesn't maybe have a place to set my bag, I can just knit from this. And I'm going to make a Midas hat. So I've made the Midas hat a couple times before, and I love it because it has, you do provisional cast on, You just knit. You don't do any ribbing. You knit for a certain amount. And what I have done is in the past is knit okay, let me back up a little bit. It has a folded brim that's secured. It's not just like you fold the brim. You knit and then you turn it and attach it and then continue knitting. So just the brim is double layer, because I thought about doing a Musselburgh hat. Haven't done one yet. And I'm like, the idea of having a double thick hat, like I don't really need it. I don't live in that cold of a climate, and I'm not one to roll the brim up. Not my style. So this has the double thickness right here, so your little ears get double, but the rest of your head doesn't. And it's a little slouchy, and it's like, it's a good fit. I love it. So I've done the inside before in a different color so that it just has that kind of highlight. And then, so you knit so far, which is going to be on the inside, and then you do a purl ridge and then continue knitting. And so that purl ridge ends up being just along the edge, helps it turn. So when I get to that, I'll do the purl ridge in the accent color and then continue the hat in the main color. So I picked up, wound up, ready to go. Let me get my needles out of the way. I get the tag. This is yarn that I was given for a gift, and it's from Two Sisters, and it's awesome colors. It's blues, pinks, purples, whatevers. It's self-striping, so I thought, well, that could be kind of fun. This would definitely be a color I would wear on my head. And then I'm using, this is a Hedgehog Mini, Sorry Not Sorry, that was gifted to me by Kat. Quite a while ago, and I've been saving it to use for something special, and I think this is perfect. So this will be the inside of the brim. You'll see just a purl ridge along the edge of this, and then it'll go into self-striping. Now, I don't know what this is going to look like. I don't know what the self-striping patterning looks like, how wide the stripes are. So, you know, when you knit socks, it's small, and you're knitting a hat, it's quite a bit bigger, and so the stripes are going to be skinnier. It may just have a zigzag effect, more of a pooling. I'm not sure, but I'm going to go for it. So I will cast this on before I leave, because it's a provisional cast on, and get it started. So then all I have to do is pick it up and knit it. So this will be my hanging out at the house, visiting and knitting project. And that has me really excited, because that I know I will wear, because I do wear a hat when I take Violet for a walk in the wintertime, because it does get cold, and you know, need a hat when I go walk outside. So I've gotten my needles ready, my yarn's caked up. I will get it, like I said, I will get it cast on so that I don't have to try and do all that. It'll be ready to go. I might still do this shawl. This might be a good idea to do on the plane. I hate to fly. I'm an anxious flyer, but it's the only way to get from point A to point B, so I do it. I have my little happy pills that my doctor gives me for flying, so I'll do that. And then this might maybe give me the concentrate on this while I'm knitting. So far, that's what I'm doing. So that's all my cast-ons and rip-outs and whatever. But I got a call from a friend of mine. It was somebody I used to work with who's just adorable and sweet, and I love her. And so she contacted me, and she's like, hey, I have a friend who bought a storage unit, like at an auction. Like somebody didn't pay their bill, and so they just like, you can buy whatever's in here. You don't know what's in there. And so I guess that's a thing she does. And bought this storage unit. She goes, it's got a bunch of like yarn and knitting stuff. Do you think you might be interested? And I'm like, well, you know, take a picture. Give me an idea. Because if it's just some acrylic yarn that I'm not going to use, like color-wise or something, like, I'm not going to bother. So I see in the picture, she doesn't know what she's taking a picture of, just kind of the inside of this tub. I see Malabrigo. I'm like, well, Malabrigo's a good brand. So I'll come look at it. So had a great visit with her, and I looked at the stuff. So I'm going to start off with this thing. So she's like, there's this big tote bag, you know, do you think you want it? I'm like, you know, yeah, maybe. Like, you know, I was feeling bad. Like, I just felt bad taking it because she doesn't want anything for it because she's already made her money with the other stuff that she sold in the storage unit. She's like, if this is just like, give it away. She had a whole bunch of knit picks, needles, and I'm like, I'm set with my needles. So I don't want that. And there were projects that were partially knitted. And then she has this tote bag. And I'm like, yeah, okay, you know, that looks good. And she turns it around. It's Stella Q. I'm like, yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that giant tote, that giant Stella Q tote. So, got myself a big tote bag. Unfortunately, it's got a couple pockets, and one of the pockets zips. And when I went to zip it, the zipper broke. But it's okay. This bag is still very usable. So, I felt like I scored just getting that. And then I also got, this is the Malabrigo. So, this is the Rasta line, I guess. It's that stuff that's like not really spun. It's just kind of more like roving. And I'm like, you know, I'll take it. I wouldn't ever buy this just because, for one, I'm not a big fan of singles. And then this is like, what do you do with this? This is super bulky. And you get like 90 yards in this whole skein. But I said I might try and do something. To me, it was looking like I could do a landscape. Something. Woven, or I don't know, something more artsy fartsy. So I've got this. I got 4 skeins and they're all different colors. I got that one. I got this one. So I'm thinking ground, water, mountains, flowers. See, I was going more landscapey and sunset. So I've got 4 skeins, which gives me just under 400 yards of this super bulky yarn. I looked up on Ravelry for the yarn to see what other people make, and the majority of the people make hats. And this one was partially knitted into a hat. You can see that it's kinky. So she had partially gotten a hat going, and it has great stitch definition and stuff. I just don't know that I would wear a thick hat like this. But maybe somebody would. Maybe I'll knit for somebody else. But I'm kind of thinking this needs to be an art project of some sort, but I don't know what yet. So this is gonna just kind of hang out for a little while in my jumbo Stella Q bag. Because why not? I think it needs to go in there. So that was really fun. It was fun to get something that I wouldn't ever buy. I would never spend the money on a Stella Q bag. Oh, it's even got a pocket on the outside. Nothing in it. You never know. So this gal, whoever had the storage unit, she had good taste. and you know, had some expensive. I got some other yarn too. I got some like MCN yarn, and it's not colors that I would necessarily knit with. So I'm going to bring it with me to Rhinebeck and see if anybody in the house would use it. I'm sure somebody in the house will want to use it. So that was pretty fun. And she didn't want anything for it, which makes it even better because free is an awesome price. I love it. So that's it. I leave next week, so I won't be doing another recording until I get back. I'm thinking I'll take some video and stuff and probably be posting stuff on Instagram. So Carrie makes stuff on Instagram. I'm getting fluff in my throat. So look for me there, and I'm really excited. I'm like nervous excited because it's the flying thing. And you know, I haven't met but just a couple of the people that I'm gonna stay in the house with in person. Like Aaron and Chip are the only ones I've met in person of all the people that I'm going to go with. But I've been talking with these people once a week on our Zoom knit night for the last 2.5 years. So I know them well enough. I mean, better than you would something else. And I get to see Chevis from the Chevy Rail Stuff podcast. I'm hoping to see Aquila from Lefty Knitter podcast. She's going to be there, and I'm hoping we run into each other. It's just going to be all of that kind of stuff. So fingers crossed I don't get sucked into the vortex of wanting to buy everything and plane doesn't crash and I don't get sick. If that all is, that's awesome. If all those things happen. So wish me luck. And I will definitely give you a recap video when I get back and recuperate. I come back and I have a couple of days and then I go camping. So it's not going to be probably till November until I can record again, just because it's a busy month for some reason. October's turned out to be really busy, and it's okay. So I hope you are all well. I hope if you were in the path of Hurricane Ian, you're not watching this because you probably have no power, but goodness gracious. I hope everybody's safe. I hope you're healthy, and I will see you in November. Bye.